Hello Aries, great to have you here. My name is Shauna. Today's reading is a general love forecast for November 2025. As always, take the messages that resonate and release anything that doesn't. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay connected with upcoming readings. Let's see what's headed your way, Aries. I hope that you still find it timely and relevant to your situation right now. So first of all, I'm just going to relay some information that came through when I was meditating on this month's reading for you. So I feel like there's somebody that is coming towards you, and I feel like they're treading very, very carefully. They have a message. They have something that they want to say to you. And I feel like they don't really know how to approach it. So I don't know if it's because they're shy or because, there's history between the two of you. So I feel almost like they have something to say, but they're walking on eggshells and they're kind of like beating around the bush a little bit and not being very forthcoming and straightforward with you. Okay? I know that is really aggravating for many of you when you're dealing with people who are very indirect, okay? It can be very aggravating for fire signs to have to read people's minds or like to, you don't want to go through life like second guessing if somebody is having, ulterior motives and things like that. So it could be a little bit aggravating with you dealing with this person. But I feel like they're emotionally very underdeveloped, and so they're very sensitive. They don't want to do or say something to upset you because then I feel like you might have had a history with this person where you might have raised your voice, where you might have gotten angry because they're so indirect, and in the process of getting mad at them, I feel like they got scared whenever they, awoken the anger within you. And so that's why they're very, very hesitant about coming forward and speaking to you. So if this is somebody that you're dealing with, I want to say, aim to be a lot more patient for this month. And I feel like, maybe drawing out the conversation or steering the conversation in a way that you would like might help the situation, okay? So if they're just coming to you beating around the bush and you already know they have something to say, but they're not really getting to the point, you can just tell them, look, I have about 10 minutes. Can you just please be straightforward with me? What do you want to tell me? What do you want to ask? What do you want to, what are you doing exactly? And I think that might actually help the situation because that allows them to, kind of like reassess their strategy and to really look at their motives. And it allows them to understand that, your time is limited. And so you would prefer it if they came at you a little bit more directly next time. Okay, so that's just something I feel would be helpful in all situations moving forward, okay? So that's the first thing. I feel like for some of you, there's somebody that I'm almost sensing like there's history between you and this person. And I'm seeing a lot of family members, in the way that the energy exchange between the two of you. I'm feeling like family members. I'm feeling like this is somebody you've been separated from for a long time. And I feel like they're coming to you because there's some issues that they might need advice. They're trying to straighten out their lives. I see somebody who's like putting down a sheet, and the sheet is like a bed sheet, and the sheet is very, very wrinkled. So I feel like they have a lot of things they need ironing out in their lives. And so I feel like there's history. There might have been some bad blood between you and them in the past. And so you're listening to what they're saying, and you're actually very, very sympathetic. But I feel like your demeanor is a little bit cold, okay, towards this person. So I feel like you kind of need to decide, make up your mind. Are you in or are you out? Are you going to listen to everything that they have to say and, help them or be involved with them again? Or do you want to just, call it a day and just walk out of that conversation? Because I feel like you're straddling the fence. And this conversation, the longer it drags on, the more uncomfortable it's going to be. So you want to decide ahead of time. Are you going to go through it again? Are you in? Or are you going to walk away from it? So kind of like, really make up your mind before they start doing their whole sales pitch or their whole spiel with you. That way you can save yourself and the other person a lot of time in the long run, okay? I feel like some of you might be angry with this person, rightfully so, because I feel like they come with baggage. Okay, they come with baggage. There might have been a lot of harsh words exchanged between you and this person. I feel like you're curious, and curiosity, I feel like, might be getting the best of you. You're curious about what they have to say. Like, what are they going to say next? What are they going to come up with next? What preposterous, scenarios are they going to hatch out next? So I feel like you're kind of curious. But once again, if it's a recurring pattern where there might be trust issues or there might be some of you, I'm hearing like, up to no good. Like, not that you are up to no good, but I feel like the other person might be up to no good. And you have a running history and proof that indicates that. And if you have already been through this whole charade with them, there's no need to re-engage. Okay, so just a heads up. I feel like they're coming at a distance. I'm seeing a lot of distance. So it could be like an emotional rift or geographical distance between you and this person. And, as a result of that, it would be in your best interest to, as soon as you get that message, as soon as you get word or you hear through the grapevines that they're on their way towards you, you might need to decide, do I really want to re-engage in this? Or do I just want to let it go for good once and for all? Okay, so I mentioned, I feel like in the previous video that I wasn't going to use this deck anymore, but for whatever reason it's speaking to me. So there's another message that I want to relay before we go into this reading. Okay, so I feel like your energy for this month is very, very cautious. Okay, you're coming across in a very like rational, cautious. I don't see any sense of impulsiveness from your end. So in a way, I feel like you might be behaving a little bit more like a Piscean or a Taurian, and those two signs are on either side of you. You're behaving more like a Piscean in the way in which you're very empathetic towards people, and you're behaving in a Taurian way in which you're very, I want to say, patient with people. But at the same time, your impulsivity, I don't see it in the spread and I don't feel it in the energy when I was shuffling, which indicates to me, it's almost like, it feels to me like a change of heart. It feels to me like there's a situation that you're kind of getting the bird's eye view on or about. And that, as a result of that, I feel like you're reassessing. It's like a major revelation. And so it gives you a different perspective as you navigate the energy for this month. Okay, so that's the other message that came through. I'm also feeling as well, maybe I didn't do the reading for last month and that's why you guys are getting a lot of messages, but I'm also feeling like there is a situation where you're really beating yourself up over missed opportunities, okay? And I feel like it's a little bit more complicated and nuanced than just missed opportunities. What I feel is, for some of you, it's sort of like, I shouldn't have squandered that money. There was a point in time where you had a lot of money. And you're just like, I should have invested it. I should have done something else with it. I shouldn't have wasted that money. Okay? And then for others, the message that came out is, I should have taken that situation a little bit more seriously. I should have stayed. I should have worked it out. I should have done my best. I should have done everything that I could before I let it go. Okay, so for some of you, this could be a job. And then I'm also seeing a relationship. Okay, I should have exhausted all avenues to fix something before I let it go. And then for others, I feel like I shouldn't have done it that way. I should have done this. So we're dealing with a situation. You have been very introspective. You really, kind of like ripped yourself, kind of like unzip yourself open. And you've had to go through this kind of like purging process where you looked at some of the major life decisions that you have made in the past. I want to say the past 10 years. Okay. And I feel like there was a major scramble for stability. This is the Ten of Pentacles. So this is like, generational wealth. This is like the apex of financial stability, having property, having a home, having assets, being kind of like in a position where you're very financially well off. I feel like in the past, there was a major scramble for stability. Okay. And I feel like for many of you, you're at that point where you have achieved whatever society deemed to be important, having that house, having that car, having, the luxury car even, or even having like multiple properties, or even, being at the apex of your career. And you're starting to realize that, yeah, it's all great and fun, but I feel like you want a little bit more excitement or a little bit more stimulation in your environment, okay? So I feel like you have had to forgo a lot of things in order to reach this stability. And then for some of you, I also feel like there was a scramble for stability where you had to, orient your life in a specific way in order to achieve this stability. And now that you have it, you're just looking for something else. You're looking for a career change. You're looking for like it's like a 180 turn. Like, okay, I've already been down this route. I've already been down this avenue. What else is there for me? What else is available? What else can I do? And so you have a lot of ideas percolating in your mind. And I feel like, these are like bubbling to the surface, okay? The Ace of Rods usually indicates to me creative projects. And in this context, I feel almost like, okay, I've already done this route. I've already achieved, stability. I already have a lot of money in the bank. I already have property. I already have, everything that society deems to be, the epitome of success. And now I'm looking for something a little bit more. I'm looking for something that would, really stimulate me or engage me in a different way. That's what I'm feeling like. It's not like a trade-off where you're trading this in order to have this. And so it would be, I want to say, incorrect if you looked at things in such a binary way and you're telling yourself, I'm trading this in order to get this. Don't look at it like that. This gives you the financial freedom to do other things that you would find very stimulating and enjoyable. But it doesn't mean you have to forsake this in order to get this, okay? So don't look at it. Look at it as like a spectrum that you can kind of bounce back and forth between, rather than telling yourself, I'm going to scrap this, I'm going to take a sabbatical, quit my job in order to, do something else. But I feel like for many of you, this is like the beginning of something. It's the ace. So it's kind of like the seed of something that's being planted. So many of you are shifting, like really heavily thinking about self-employment, doing full-time self-employment. And then I feel like you have some contractual things that are keeping you in your place, and you feel a little bit apprehensive about foregoing this really, really stable job in order to jump into something new. And so you're at a point where you're still trying to work things out, trying to map things out, and trying to figure out when you would be ready in order to initiate this. Okay, so it sounds really, really good. So okay? It's an ideas type of a month where a lot of ideas will be kind of bubbling to the surface. Not all of them are going to be great. Not all of them are going to pass the common sense test. But keep in mind, these ideas are there to keep us stimulated, okay? It's kind of like the astrological aspect that's bringing these ideas to the surface for you if you choose to engage with them. But you need to make sure that when we shift away from the time of Gemini, that these ideas pass the common sense test. They're feasible and that they have some solid backing. Okay, so you need to make sure that don't run away with, or don't let your ideas run away with you. You kind of need to make sure that they're tried and true. You kind of need to build a foundation in order to plant these seeds. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm feeling here. I feel like there's an idea you have, and then there are offshoots, kind of like different avenues that you can take. It's sort of like this, okay? One main solid stalk, and there are offshoots. So like other avenues that you can kind of like branch off on, and it looks really promising. And I feel like for some of you, you already know, you have in your mind already what that offshoot looks like. So for example, I see a lot of people, for example, okay, you might want to go into like property management, okay? You might take a course on real estate. And then the offshoot would be, oh, I want to go into mortgage and loans. I don't really want to sell houses. I just want to handle the paperwork. So that's kind of like an offshoot. For some of you, you might be thinking about going back to school, and you're just like, let me see, what's a good field? I want to do, computer science. And then you're just like, but I don't really want to do programming, so I'm just going to do like graphic design. So I feel like you're looking at something which is really broad, and you're kind of narrowing down your specific areas of expertise or areas of interest and go off in that direction. So this is really good because I feel like you've thought it through, and because of that, I feel like it's going to bear fruit. Okay, so you have some really wonderful things here. What I'm seeing in this spread is that all of your physical needs are taken care of. You have a roof over your head, a lot of financial abundance. You have the love and comfort and, the support of everybody around you, like a family unit. Could be your own family members, or it could be the supportive environment in which you exist right now. So you have a lot of, just all your needs are being met, okay? A roof over your head, food on the table, friends and associates, and just a lot of support overall. And because you have that, I feel like you feel really, really safe, and you footing, and you're off to a really good start. For some reason, I'm seeing a lot of like baked potatoes. I don't know why that just came to mind, like baked potatoes, and it's like a boiled potato, and then you cut it in half, and then you put like a bunch of dressings on it. So what I'm seeing is it's sort of like, taking something very bland, and then making it fancy. Okay, so that's something I feel is coming through. Many of you might be reupholstering things, fixing things up, revitalizing something. So you might take something that is very generic and very bland, and adding things to it to make it sparkle, refurbishing, or so that seems like it's something that's related to the next direction that you want to take. And I feel like it's going to bring you a lot of, if it's a job, it's going to bring you a lot of excitement. If it's like self-employment endeavors, I feel like you're going to have a really, really good time, and it's going to bring you a lot of financial stability as well. So that takes care of the first two cards. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the last four cards first before I go back here, okay? So I feel like the reading is kind of divided like this. So I've already talked about the first two cards, so there's something here. And what we have here is the Four of Pentacles. I mentioned before that you're very cautious this month, okay? You're, look at this crown chakra, that heavy, bloated pentacles on his head, okay? So that deals with the crown chakra. And the crown chakra is mental processes, the way we think, the way we kind of churn things over and over and over in our heads before we make a decision. And so what I felt with this card is I just feel like a lot of the times in the past, many of you have made decisions a little bit impulsively, and you're thinking back at those moments in time, you know, kind of like that sliding door moment, and you're just like, did I make the right decision? If I had done things differently, where would my life be right now? Where would I be right now? How would things be different right now? And then I feel like it gets to the point where, you know, you don't have that hypothetical, right? Like you didn't make that decision. Therefore, your life is taking a different path, and it's taking you to here. And because you don't know what your life would be like if you made that other decision, you're just kind of like pondering and not really making a decision in this present time, because you don't want to make the wrong choice. So I feel like there's a situation where you're presented with a lot of ideas, ways to do things, things to kind of like run off with. And you're looking at things very methodically, very rationally. You're looking at everything that's laid out in the table in front of you. And you're kind of like combing things through things, okay? Looking at things in a very, very methodical, skeptical manner, because you don't want to make the right choice. But what I'm feeling with this is you already know what the right choice is. It's the thing that you're constantly thinking about, churning over and over again in your head. That's what the right choice is. And in the meantime, you're thinking about all of these different scenarios that you already know they're not realistic, they're not going to work out. And yet you're still wasting a lot of time kind of like, you know, going back and forth between these other options. So it's really important to kind of, I don't want to say be impulsive, you know, because it hasn't really worked out well. But what I feel is we always know there's something here about, you know, not wanting to make a mistake. And I feel like because of it, you're not really acting. And I feel like you kind of need to act. All right. And I almost feel like, you know, your opposite sign, your polar opposite is the Libra, where they think and think and think things through. And they see both sides of the coin. All of that is also coming out this month, where you're looking at both sides of the story and being very, very analytical. But I feel like there are some things that intuitively you already know, or there are some things that, you know, people might be saying, and you're trying to be very, very impartial and unbiased. But what they're telling you doesn't pass the common sense test. And so don't second guess your intuition, and don't sit there and entertain a line of a narrative when it doesn't pass the common sense test. Does that make sense? Because I feel like you're doing a lot of that. It's almost like you're second guessing yourself, or you're not confident enough in what you're doing, and you don't want to make a big mistake. And I feel like there's a lot riding on you making decisions. And so you're just, you know, trying to go through all the different avenues before you make a decision. And some of these avenues, they don't even need to be entertained, okay? Because ultimately, this is the High Priestess. So this is like that inner sense of knowing, that gut instinct, the little voice in our head telling us, you know, this is all BS, or this is the truth. And I feel like you have a really, really good gauge of what is real and what is not. And so you need to kind of like trust your intuition a little bit more, and not doubt yourself to the point where you're wasting a lot of time like not making a decision, because I feel like a lot of things need to be done for this month, okay? There will be a little bit, so what I'm seeing here is we have the Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands and the Four of Rods, this is kind of like a dwelling, a unit, a family unit. There might be some contention between family members. There might be like, I'm seeing dispute or like land dispute, border dispute, demarcation, something that indicates to me fighting over territory, fighting over beliefs. And you know, a lot of the times whenever we have a disagreement with somebody, right, it's not so much about the disagreement itself, it's more about the principle, right? So I feel like somebody's arguing something on principle or refusing to budge on principle or refusing to, you know, acquiesce to another person or even agreeing to another person because that person rubs us the wrong way. So I'm seeing this might be somebody in your family unit in the place of employment, or also like somebody that you're kind of like going back and forth with when it comes to this disagreement that you really cannot resolve and you can't see eye to eye on. So that's going to be coming through. And keep in mind when I mentioned before, you know, if somebody is giving you a narrative that doesn't pass the common sense test, you don't need to entertain that person. Okay, you don't need to. You don't need to ask further questions. You don't need to, I guess, you don't need to weigh out whether or not they're telling you the truth, because I feel like your intuition is extra sharp for this month. All right, so what I'm seeing here, the last four cards, is we have one of the loveliest cards in the deck. This is the Ace of Cups. And this is kind of like the dawning or the breaking open of a new love situation, okay? So I'm looking at that sun on top. It's like the dawning of a new day, the rebirth, revival, the initiation of something very brand new that brings you a lot of love, satisfaction, and just emotional, you know, contentment, okay? First of all, when it comes to aces, it deals heavily with like a seed of something new, okay? And a lot of the times, Aries, I feel like many of you are often accused of being, you know, very impulsive. And it's sort of like the thrill of the chase, okay? You're the first sign of the zodiac. You want to be the first. You want to kind of like get there and be the first in line, or get there and be kind of like the first person to experience something. So I feel like there's something that's really not only stirring your emotions, but also stirring your passion. Okay, so you have two aces here. And this is wonderful because what this month means is it's a series of new beginnings that are happening in your life, and it's going to be really, really, really good. And so the only thing that I can say is keep in mind all aces are like seeds, okay? You need to put it in the ground. It's given to you by the divine. You need to put it in the ground. You need to water it. You need to tend to it. You need to nurture it. And you really need to take care of it. So these are really, really promising starts. But it's not a guarantee that you're going to get exactly what you want unless you put in the work to maintain these things, okay? So I have new projects that are given to you. So don't take it for granted. You need to nurture it, put it in the ground, water it, take care of it, nurture it every day in order for it to work for you, and in order for it for you to be, you know, to be able to shape it and mold it into whatever it is that you're looking for. And then we also have a love opportunity. And once again, this is something that needs to be nurtured, needs to be watered, needs to be tended to. And so it's definitely there for you. But I do see as well, there's a lot of things that you're taking care of. Okay? There are a lot of things that are going to be coming at you, responsibilities, the daily things that we have to do just to maintain ourselves. Okay? Going to the grocery store, cleaning our house, making our beds, you know, going to work, driving ourselves to work, just all the wayside. And that is why I feel like this message is so powerful coming through, because it's like, yes, it's there, but I almost feel like this is the Page of Wands. This is your energy. the face is kind of like blacked out, or at least it's not drawn in this card. So what it means is that you're turning your back on a situation that deserves a lot more attention. It deserves it needs to be, nurtured in order for it to grow. So you can't really take things for granted. And what I have as well is the Three of Cups. This is, social dating, socializing, having a good time, being in an environment where, there are a lot of suitors in your environment. There are also a lot of people that are interested in you. There are also a lot of opportunities for dating, for meeting people who are very, very like-minded. But the thing about this Three of Cups, I guess in contrast to the Ace of Cups, this is real and this is something very solid, okay? And this is kind of like something that will bring about a new chapter in your love life. Whereas with the Three of Cups, this is a little bit more superficial. It's a great card for social dating, for socializing, having a good time. But at the end of the day, it usually indicates a situation that it doesn't have that emotional depth to it, or stability kind of built in. It doesn't have that. So I feel like there might be a decision here. Do I want to continue dating, or do I want to settle down? Do I want to build a stability, or am I at a point where I just want to be single and just want to have fun and just want to, go my own way? So I feel like many of you are possibly at a crossroads too when it comes to your love life. You have something that's offered to you, but I feel like you might be turning your back, or you might be like, oh, it's going to be there, it's going to be there. I don't need to like tend to it. But I feel like the warning here is anything that's going to be, anything that you want to build, anything that you want to that you want to have at the end of the day, it requires hard work and dedication. It requires nurturing. It requires, planting the seed and then watering it and watching it grow, so on and so forth. So I feel like there's a situation here that we can't really deal with when it comes to that we really shouldn't neglect, okay? The Three of Cups usually indicates, having multiple suitors as well. So what I'm seeing here is we have the Page of Cups, the Page of Wands, and the King of Swords, okay? The King of Swords, this is an Aquarius, a Gemini, or a Libra. And the King of Swords is somebody who is very intelligent. They're when they talk to you, they can sound a little bit like a computer, okay, like a robot. Very rational, they're really good at strategizing. If you ever need advice, this is somebody who can give you very unbiased advice. This is somebody who, if you've gotten like a really bad haircut, they're going to let you know. If you've done something really, really poorly, they're going to let you know. And if you need advice on something, they're going to give the best advice because they're very just unbiased, okay? This is somebody who really knows what they want, okay? So the air sign, the suit of air rules, it doesn't rule the emotions, it rules the mind. So this is somebody who's constantly thinking and looking at things through a very rational, cerebral lens. And when they talk, their emotions don't really show up as much, okay? And I feel like for many of you, you need that ego stroking is what I'm feeling. You need somebody that can tell you, not all the time, but I feel like to a certain extent you guys do. And it's almost like, oh, you did a really good job today, or I like, I like the way you look. I like the way your hair looks. Whatever it is that does it for you. I feel like you kind of need that. You kind of need that verbal validation from your partner. And I feel like you're attracted to someone or attracting someone to you that is a little bit more like this, okay? They're a little bit distant and a little bit cold. But I feel like when it comes to the King or the Queen of Swords, it's somebody that has been through their fair share of hardships in life, okay? So like they don't readily open up, mainly because, they've been taken advantage of in the past. They understand human nature, and they understand that, they have to kind of like keep their walls about them out of self-preservation, self-protection. So this is somebody that's going to take a really long time in order for you to get to know. I feel like they're very multifaceted, and I feel like they hide behind their intellect because the realm of emotions, makes them uncomfortable. And I feel like it's sort of like this. They're kind of looking at you. They're trying to figure out the real you because, like I said, the face on this page of wands is not drawn in. They want to see your real face. They want to see your real identity. They want to see what you're capable of and what you're really, really made of. And I feel like some of you, under this person's gaze or when you're around this person, there could be a lot of judgment that you're feeling from them for whatever reason. You feel like they don't completely 100% approve of you. You feel like they're not warm and loving and cuddly and just, accepting. And so you feel as also that you hide certain parts of yourself when you're with this person. So I almost feel like, it's like a scientist in a laboratory looking at a colony of fire ants, okay? Someone who's studying you, and it can feel really uncomfortable. It can feel a little bit unnerving, but I feel like there's an energy exchange here that is very, very different from what you're used to. And I feel like it's triggering or even like bringing up some deep things within you that might not be completely comfortable. So you're dealing with someone who's very, very different from what you're used to, and you're dealing with someone who's not completely warm and loving and cuddly the way that you would like, okay? And I'm getting a lot of masculine energy, so it's somebody who's very like driven, like not that, masculinity means these things, but I feel like the energy is very forceful, is direct, it's very straightforward. It's you're dealing with someone who's like even more straightforward than you are. And that's a little bit unnerving, because I feel like in the past you've dealt with people that straddle the fence, who, constantly waffle between two ideas, concepts, decisions, and whereas you're meeting somebody who is on the right path because they're very, very direct with their intentions, okay? And for others of you, I feel like there might be as well an earth sign, a Taurus, a Virgo, or a Capricorn. And I feel like with this earth sign, the relationship needs a little bit of work, because I feel like they're very closed off, they're very careful, they're very methodical. And you feel as well there might be a little bit of judgment coming from this person. It's like they're disapproving of the things that you're doing. And then I definitely feel like you're in a position where a lot of people are asking you to go out, to, socialize, to date, to hang out. And I feel like you're shying away from the social scene because you've got a lot on your plate as well, okay? So there's